Good evening. This is All India Radio, Kohima. I'm Jonas Yantan with Evening News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Summit on Implementation of National Education Policy 2020. NDA Presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu arrives in Nagaland. State food safety officers and government officials trained on rice fortification. And in view of African Swine Fever detection, DC Kohima bans slaughter transport of pigs at infected and civilian zones. Now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samakam at Varanasi tomorrow. The summit is being organized by the Education Ministry in association with University Grants Commission and Banaras Hindu University. The three-day event will bring together over 300 vice-chancellors and directors from public and private universities, educationist policymakers, as also industry representatives to deliberate on how the implementation of the National Education Policy 2020 can be taken further across the country after successful implementation of several initiatives in the last 2 years. NDA Presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu arrived in Nagaland today. In a tweet, State Chief Minister Nipirio welcomed Murmu to the land of festivals. Murmu will be meeting the legislators and MPs of Nagaland in Kohima to seek their support. A training on rice fortification for food safety officers and government officials under the theme Rice Fortification for Better Nutrition Outcome was conducted at Directorate of Health and Family Welfare, DHFW, Kohima today. The event was organized by the Center for Health Research and Innovation, CHRI, and National Stock Exchange Foundation in collaboration with Food Safety Authority, DHFW. Principal Director DHFW, Dr. Gay Vikato Kinimi said all kinds of diseases are caused by bad food and the department has stood firmly for food safety measures in the state by carrying out checking on shops, eateries and food storehouses and even temporarily banning sale of fish in the state due to the presence of chloroform. Ginimi urged all trainees to learn well so that through them all citizens may stay safe, healthy and have prolonged life. Resource persons during the training included Lead Nutrition Family Health CHRI, PATH, New Delhi, Rohini Saran, State Technical Officer CHRI Shan Azum and Project Lead CHRI New Delhi. They highlighted that anemia and micronutrient deficiencies in India were recognized as a deterrent to maternal and child survival and overall productivity of the nation. Anemia and micronutrient malnutrition can be addressed by improving dietary intakes through diversification of diets combined with nutrition education, food fortification and supplementation, among others. The resource persons also noted that fortification was the most effective strategy to combat the problem of micronutrient deficiencies in the population. In view of the detection of African Swine Fever at various areas in Kohima district, Deputy Commissioner Shanavas C. has imposed a ban on the slaughter of pigs, import and export of pigs and piglets, and transportation of pigs and pork at identified infected and civilian zones. DC Kohima has notified the infected zones as Wiswema, Tzlake and Zurzu near KMC dumping site, New Merima, and 1 kilometer radius around each of them. The civilian zones include Jakama, Kuzama, Kikwema, Kitima, Kezoma, Pesama, Fuchama, Mima, Mitelepe, Konoma, Mirema, Old and New Tsesema, and High School area, Kohima. DC Kohima Shanavas has ordered strict adherence of the restrictions in the identified locations until further notice. Additional Deputy Commissioner Futsaro, Jafet Vodge, has restricted inter-village transportation of pigs or piglets, both live and slaughtered, to Futsaro town or vice versa from affected village or areas with immediate effect. This has been done following recommendation by the Assistant Veterinary Surgeon Futsaro, in view of the unusual death of pigs due to high fever and anorexia in and around the area. The ADC also informed that persons intending to slaughter pigs may obtain clearance from the Department of Veterinary and Animal Husbandry, Futsero. This news comes to you from All India Radio, Kohima. You can also listen to this news bulletin on News on Air app and YouTube channel AIR News Kohima. Deputy Commissioner Beren Vinit Kumar has lamented the absence of many officers from their stations. Chairing the monthly meeting of Beren District Planning and Development Board held today, Kumar said bringing changes in the district required efforts of all board members, and the presence of officers could bring a lot of differences in the functioning of the district. The DC further urged the officers to be available at their respective postings to ensure smooth functioning of the offices and provide best services to the public. At the meeting, the board approved the proposal of granting aid for a urinal shed and safe drinking water facility at Baptist High School, Denning, to be forwarded to higher authorities for further action. Officials from various departments shared their level of preparedness should any eventualities arise in the light of the monsoon season. The meeting also discussed frequent failure of power in Denning Town as well as the vacant post of headmaster at GHS Denning. A training by the Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority on emergency operation and search and rescue for Apta Mitra, Friends in Disaster, and Community First Responder is currently underway at Dimapur. The training is being conducted in collaboration with Home Guards, Civil Defence and State Disaster Response Fund with support from the National Disaster Management Authority. It commenced on the 15th of May and will conclude on 16th of next month. The in-house training aims to empower the community of volunteers with the skills required to respond to the community's immediate needs in the aftermath of a disaster and thus enable them to undertake basic relief and rescue tasks during emergencies. So far, volunteers from Kifere, Pek, Longling and Beren have completed their training. The Union Finance Ministry today released the fourth monthly installment of post-devolution revenue deficit grant of over 7,183 crore rupees to 14 states. With this, a total amount of 28,733 crore rupees has been released in the current financial year to the eligible states. Nagaland received 377.50 crore rupees in the fourth installment for the month of July, out of its total amount of 4,530 crore rupees post-devolution revenue deficit grant recommended by the 15th Finance Commission for the year 2022-23. Nagaland today reported 6 new COVID-19 cases, bringing up the total active positive cases in the state to 21. The latest detection included 5 from Dimapur and 1 from Beren. State Health and Family Department said no recovery or death from the infection was reported during the last 24 hours. Nagaland government has constituted a state-level committee for the upcoming Chess Olympiad Torch relay to be held at Kohima on 11th of this month. The 15-member committee is being led by the Additional Secretary, Youth, Resources and Sports. It will oversee the coordination and necessary logistic arrangement for the relay, which is being conducted as part of India's Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations. A meeting has been scheduled for tomorrow at noon in the office chamber of the Secretary, Youth, Resources and Sports. And now to end the news, here are the main points again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Summit on Implementation of National Education Policy 2020. NDA Presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu arrives in Nagaland. State food safety officers and government officials trained on rice fortification. And in view of African Swine Fever detection, DC Kohima bans slaughter, transport of pigs at infected and civilian zones. That is all we have in this evening news bulletin. Good night.